Welcome to CCN Midday News. I'm your host, Caputo and Krishna. Here are some of your top stories for today, April 24th. New HHS spokesperson made racist comments about Chinese people in now deleted tweets. Kentucky sees sharpest rise in the COVID-19 cases following an anti-lockdown protest. Columnist details how Republicans will try to sabotage the government if Trump loses the election. The Supreme Court takes a small step in the direction of judicial independence. And 40 black men are accusing a former University of Michigan athlete doctor of sexual assault. Let's get to the news. The new spokesman for the Department of Health and Human Services, in a series of now deleted tweets, made racist and derogatory comments about Chinese people. It also said that Democrats want the coronavirus to kill millions of people and accused the media of intentionally creating panic around the pandemic to hurt President Donald Trump. Michael Caputo, a longtime New York Republican political operative who worked on the Trump's 2016 presidential campaign, was appointed last week as the Assistant Secretary for Public Affairs at HHS, a prominent communications role at the department which serves as the central role in the federal government's response to the coronavirus pandemic. Caputo, a prolific user who often tweeted insults and profanity, recently erased nearly his entire Twitter history from before April 12th. He deleted nearly 1,300 deleted tweets and retweets from late February to early April, many of which were regarding the rapid spread of the coronavirus. The coronavirus pandemic is still in full swing as America becomes the epicenter for this disease. While cases globally are still rising, some of the worst affected areas in Europe are starting to see a reduction in deaths and emerging cases thanks to the lockdown measures that saw 1/3 of humanity stay at home to prevent the spread of the deadly pathogens. Despite these positive results, there are groups in parts of America now protesting against the lockdown measures. An anti-lockdown protest in Kentucky, attended by 100 people, was followed by the sharpest rise in cases since the coronavirus arrived in the area, ironically demonstrating the importance of the lockdown in the face of those who disagree with it. In a press conference on Sunday, April 19th, Governor Bashar reported that following the protest, 273 new cases of the COVID-19 had been confirmed, constituting the highest daily increase in cases of the region had since announcing the pandemic began. The Kentucky Department of Health reports that the current number of cases is now 2,960, with 148 fatalities from this disease. As the coronavirus pandemic rages and damages the U.S. economy on President Donald Trump's watch, former Vice President Joe Biden may be gaining an advantage in this year's presidential election, but the Washington Post opinion writer Paul Wildman warns in a new column this week that if Biden does win November, that doesn't mean that he can count on a strong bipartisan cooperation in 2021. Republicans will likely undermine a Biden presidency. Republicans have already been seeing the threat that the coronavirus pandemic poses to their long-term Republican or political projects and have begun working to fend it off. Democrats, I fear, are not assuming that this crisis will naturally prove them right about the role of the government, and they don't actually have to do much for their vindication to occur. Alderman recalls that during the Great Depression, Republicans were hardly willing to join forces for the good of the country, and there is no reason to believe that the GOP will any less hostile to a Biden presidency. On Monday, the United States Supreme Court did something it had not done in nearly a decade. It denied a motion by the Solicitor General to participate in oral arguments in a case to which the federal government is not a party. It shouldn't wait 10 years to do so again. Argument time at the Supreme Court is one of the scarcest resources in the American legal system. It's the only time that litigants can be certain that the justices hear their perspectives, and outside groups that's not a party to the lawsuit must seek permission to argue as an amicus or friend of the court. In theory, anyone can receive approval. In practice, as we have documented, this privilege is granted almost exclusively to the Solicitor General, who is appointed by the President and represents the federal government at the Supreme Court. In 2010 through 2019 terms, the justices granted 307 requests from the Solicitor General and only 14 from anyone else. This favoritism towards the president's advocates erodes the Supreme Court's independence. The Solicitor General's opinion is widely respected, so much so that he is often called the 10th Justice. Monday's denial to consolidated lawsuits that pit a corporation against the consumer's interests in one Adam Burdom, a Minnesota resident, was riding in a passenger seat of a car manufactured by Ford when it crashed. The airbags failed to deploy, leaving him with a severe brain injury. He tried to sue Ford in Minnesota, where he lived, where the airbag failure occurred and where the car he had was purchased. If the Supreme Court decides in Ford's favor, consumers could have to travel across the country to vindicate their rights in court, likely resulting in fewer claims. The University of Michigan's athletes Dr. Robert Anderson has been accused of sexually abusing at least 40 black men who attended the school in the 1970s and 80s, according to MLive. The group of 40 men hired Michigan lawyer Jamie White, who's become well known for his work representing 160 victims of the former Michigan State University Dr. Larry Nassar in a lawsuit against the university. The men told White and news outlets that Anderson, who died in 2008, fondled their genitals and anally penetrated them with his finger. The university initially had an investigation into Anderson, when a former wrestler for the school contacted the athletic director about how he was sexually assaulted. MLive and the Ann Arbor News were able to obtain a 91-page police report with dozens of personal accounts detailing unnecessarily prostate exams Anderson performed on students. White said finding the victims was a long process, that many of them were particularly vulnerable to Anderson because they were athletes for the university. We've never seen this many young African American men abused in any setting by the same person, but certainly not in a setting of one of the most prestigious universities in the world. Once again, thank you for watching CCN Midday News. Hope you enjoy. Please like, share, and subscribe. Also hit that notification button so you will never miss another news update. Have a great day. Peace.